Okay, in this video we're going to look at doing power-ups properly. Um, this is the last level I was editing, so I'm going to use this to do the power-ups. At the minute, there is one power-up, that one, where the balls split and become more balls, but it doesn't require the player doing anything. It's just if a random chance of a block when it gets destroyed. So if we just look at the code of that, that's in gamecode.js and it's a function called brick collisions, and it does this little bit here, this 5% chance. So it generates a random number between 0 and 1. If it's bigger than 95, we spawn a ball. Okay, so what we want to do is, instead of doing that, we want to, when the brick gets broken, so when a ball hits a brick, what we actually want to do is to drop a pickup that if the player hits with their paddle, that will then split the ball. Okay, so let's build that set of processes in place. So if we start off and we go right to the top of gamecode.js, we keep track of all the balls and all the bricks that have been manipulated, and we do that so that we can move them around. So we're going to need to do the same for pickups. So what we're going to do is we're going to create at the top a list that's going to hold our pickups. So that's how we create a list. Let's put a comment in there. Holds all active pickups for level. Okay. Now with the brick and the balls, what we do is we go through a process of removing things once they've been killed. But because we can clear this every level, we're not going to go into that complication with the pickups. We're just going to kill pickups and they'll still be in the list, but we won't be able to see them, and then that'll get reset when a level starts. So the next thing we need to do is to make sure that the pickups get reset when a level starts. So if we just, still in game code, we're just going to scroll down until we get to the function called reset game. And you'll see inside reset game, we've got the bricks and the balls get reset. So we're just going to add our pickups. And we're going to say pickups equals empty list, which is effectively what that is. Okay. Right, so the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to, well, if we scroll down a little bit, you can see that when we're in demo loop, and there's another one for game loop, we've got some code that updates the position of all the balls because they're moving objects and they need to update. So we need to do a similar thing for the pickups. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a function, because actually this is bad programming. This, I've got in demo loop, I've got a for loop that updates the balls, and then in game loop I've got the same loop, which is a bit stupid really. It's duplicated code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pickup, the code that moves the pickups, I'm going to put that in a function. So just below demo loop, I'm just going to create a function. I'm going to call it process pickups. Going to put my braces in. Right, and it's just going to be a loop. So we're going to do a for loop, and we're going to say, right, for I equals 0, I is less than pickups dot length. So how many things have we got in the pickups? I plus plus. So that's a standard C-based language way of doing a loop. Okay, and because we're not removing any pickups once they've been destroyed, they've either been picked up by the player or they've gone off the screen, we don't want to update those. So we're just going to put a little if. So we're going to say if not pickups square brackets I dot dead. So if the current pickup that we're looking at in this loop, if it's not dead, we'll update it then. So we're going to say pickups I dot update del R. Okay, and that will pass to the whatever pickups are active the fraction of time that we're currently on for the update, and they'll do whatever appropriate action they want to do with that. Okay, so we need to add this code. I mean, there aren't any pickups yet, but we're going to add the code in. So in demo loop, we want the pickups to move on screen. So after we've updated all the balls, we're just going to say process pickups. So we just say run that function, that subroutine. And we're going to make sure that in the game loop, which is just below there, we're going to do the same thing. So after the balls, we're going to say process pickups. So they all get updated. Okay. Right. Now, we want the player to be able to pick these up. So what we're going to have to do, oh, well, we can leave that for now. Let's actually make something, get it working. So we've added our list to store the pickups. We've made sure that when we start a game in reset game, we reset the pickups. And then we've made sure that in demo mode that we update the pickups using the process pickups. Okay. Now there are some other things that we need to do, but we can get some stuff working now. Right. So the next thing we need to do is we need to design what this pickup's going to look like. And because that's design, we're going to go into styles.css. And we're going to create a class because there'll be multiple pickups, so we all want them to have the same similar settings. So it's a dot. So we're going to say, let's call this pickup. Put your braces in. Right. So we need to be able to position it on screen. So in order to do that, we're going to say position absolute. I don't want it too big, but I don't want it too small. So I'm going to set its width to 30 pixels. Height, I'll make it the same height as a brick. So I'll set that to 20 pixels. Now, you can do some good effects with CSS, and one of the nice ones is you can do rounded corners, and that's using something called border radius. And I'm going to set the radius to 6 pixels. So you'll get a curve over a 6 pixel distance. That's how it works. So horizontally 6 pixels in, it'll start curving, and then down 6 pixels. But it'll do that on every corner. You can play about with that to get different effects. Okay, I'm going to use the same image that we used with the brick to give me some sort of like effect. But I'm just gonna copy and paste that from brick. So I'm putting background image, URL, and it's the same one. Okay, so I'm not doing anything else. And what we're going to do for the pickups, we're going to set them a color, but we're also going to put a text character in there so we know as a player what the pickup is if we can't remember what the color means. So we'll want that to sit in the center no matter what character is. So we're going to do text align center. Remember that's American spelling of center. Oh, doing multiple colons there. Okay, so that's how we're going to style it. Let's create it. So this is going to be a sprite. So I'm going to make sure I'm using Visual Studio Code here. So when I create my new file, I'm making sure it's in the sprites folder. Now with Visual Studio Code, if you've got the folder highlighted and you click on the new file, it will automatically make it in that folder. Notepad's slightly different. You do it when you do your save after you've created your new file. Okay, so we're going to create a class. Whoops, hang on, let's do that again. New file. We're going to call it pickup.js because that's what the class is going to be called. Okay, so we're going to create that. Now this is going to be something that moves. So this is going to be an extension of moving sprite. So we're going to say class pickup extends moving sprite. Make sure you get the casing correct on that. So I'm putting my braces in. Okay, so this is going to have a constructor, like all classes do. We're going to give it the screen that we're building. And the reason you have to give the screen is because you could actually easily set this up to use multiple screens. And you could have sprites appearing in different containers. But there you go. We're going to have a start position. We're going to want to know what letter, and we want a back color, and let's allow the user to, the programmer to set the text color. In case you use, you might have black text with a light color background, or you might have dark background and you want lighter color text. You might pick a yellow or a white or a cream or something like that. Okay, so we're going to create that constructor. It's going to accept, oops, all those things. Okay, right. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a container to hold this sprite. So I'm going to say var pick equals, and this is how you create a container in JavaScript. So create element, use the picker when it comes up, and it's going to be a div tag because that's a basic block container. Right, okay, now we've created that, now we can set all the things up. So we're going to set its class name. So its class name we just called pickup. That's what we just defined in our CSS file. We want to set up its background color, so we're going to say pick.style, which is how you access the CSS. And we're going to say background color using the picker, and that is the value of back color. Oops, capitals, not a capital C. One of the nice things about VS Code is it tells you that you've used a parameter. You can see that back color is now highlighted. The others are still like muted colors. That's quite interesting. I like that. It reminds you that you've not done something or you spelled something wrong. Right, so let's set the text color. So again, pick.style color equals text color. And then finally pick dot inner text, which is how you set the contents, the visual content. Okay, right. So we've set up the container, its coloring and its contents. What we now need to create is this moving sprite. So we're going to call this superclass, which is the constructor for moving sprite. It's going to want the screen. It's going to want what our container is, which is called pick. It's going to want our start position. So we're just going to pass that start position on. And you can see that that's now highlighted. And then it wants an initial velocity. So let's just put new vector 2, 100. So we want it to not move horizontally, but we want it to drop at 100 pixels per second down the screen because we want it to drop from where the brick was. So it falls towards the paddle. Okay. And then the final thing we need to do is make sure that this is part of the pickups list. So we can say pickups, because that's a global value, push this. Okay, so that says push this particular pickup. We need to add our update routine. So we need to say after that delta. So this is that was the constructor. There's the end of the constructor. So the update is in a separate function. So we need to make sure that we call the superclass. So anything that moving sprite is doing, we need to make sure that that happens. That will actually update the velocity and things. But what we want to do is if this has gone off the screen, we want to get rid of it. So we're going to say if not this dot on screen. So we check to see if the pickup's on screen. If it isn't, that's what the not means. Then we say, right, okay, let's get rid of this. Let's kill it. And that'll mark it as dead. Okay. Right, so that's the code for a particular pickup, but it's non-specific. This is general. We're not going to use this class directly. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another class. So the one that we're going to start with is the one that splits the ball. So we're now going to create another file. So again, this is going to be a sprite. So in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to say new file. I'm going to call this multi-pickup. Multi-pickup. I'm going to put pickup in the name of them also, no, and I'm going to put JS because I want it to be JavaScript. Okay, so this is going to inherit from pickup. So this is going to be a pickup, but it's going to have its own specific things put on it. So we got class multi-pickup extends pickup. So we're saying it's everything that a pickup is plus some extra stuff. So there's the open and close brace for the entire class. Let's create its constructor. So for the constructor, all it's going to need is the screen that it's in and its start position, which we'll get from the brick. Okay, right. So what we need to do is call the pickup constructor and feed it with all these 5 values: the screen, the start, the letter, the back color, and the text color. So in multi-pickup, we're going to say super. We're going to pass through the screen. We're going to pass through the start position, but then we need to decide what we're going to use as the letter. So I'm going to use an M for multiple. I'm going to make this blue, and these are HTML colors, so look them up. And I'm going to use yellow text. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's save these things. So in Visual Studio, a quick way of saving all the files that have been edited is to do Control K and then press S, or you can just click on each one and say file saved. Okay, it's up to you. Right, so we saved it, but we're not actually doing any code yet that's going to generate these pickups. So let's go back to game code. And if we go back to the brick collision code, this is where we would just automatically just spawn in a ball if on 5% chance. So let's make this a little bit more sensible and let's delete all of this. So we're in brick collisions. We're going to let the score add up, but then what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, okay, let's have choose pickup. We've only got one pickup defined at the minute, and we're going to give it what is the active brick, so we know where we are on screen and where we're going to generate the pickup. So we're going to say, right, well, let's run a function called choose pickup. Let's give it the current brick where we found a collision. Okay, right, now we need to create that function. So let's create it just below brick collisions. Let's say function choose pickup. It's going to accept a brick. And remember, the parameter names are what we want to call the information we've got been given. Okay, so that's how I refer to the information I've been given. Right, so we want that random chance thing in. So let's put that in first to decide whether we do a pickup. So we're going to say if math dot random is less than, and let's make this happen a lot. So let's say less than 0.9, so that means a 90% chance. So let's just put a comment in. 90% chance of happening. Now, obviously, in the game, we wouldn't want it to be 90% of the time. We'd want it a lot less, but we're just testing. So let's just put this in place. So whenever we hit a brick, we decide whether we're going to drop a pickup. Okay, let's put it at 95%. I mean, definitely it'll happen pretty much all the time. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to, at the current location, we want to generate a pickup. And we've only got this one that we just made, multi-pickup. So we're going to say new multi-pickup. Now the reason all these things are popping up in Visual Studio Code is because I've got an extension called All Autocomplete. I think that's what it's called. That's the one. All autocomplete. It looks in all your files and it gives you spelling picks from everything. It's quite actually super useful. So you might, if you're using Visual Studio Code, you might want to get hold of that. Okay, so quite a nice little extension. Because obviously I'm doing this and it's going, oh, multi-pickup, because it's looked it up in that file for me. Right, so I need to give it, and it even does this for me as well. So it says, oh, you want the screen, so that's screen. And then we want to know where we're putting it on the screen. So that's going to be the brick we've been given, and we'll put it at the center of the brick, which is a property of a sprite. Okay, so we're nearly at a point where we can run this, but I've saved everything, but in breakout page HTML, I need to make sure I load the pickup script. So that's code slash sprites slash pickup dot JS. If you don't do this, it won't work. Right, so to make that life easier for myself, I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to edit the file name and put multi-pick. It's probably a good idea to actually do that when you're adding these. Just copy and paste and just change the bit you need. But be careful, copy and paste is not a good thing. Right, so I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go back to my browser, and I'm going to reset F5, or just do the reload page thing. So let's see what happens. Nothing. Let's have a look. Oh, we got an error. So let's have a look at those errors. Active brick, activate brick is not defined. Oh, because I spelt that wrong. Right, so if we go back, spelling mistakes thing. That's one of the main reasons code breaks. Right, so I've got active brick, and I typed, and I tried to pass as a parameter activate brick, but I didn't mean that. I meant active. So active brick. Let's save that. It's always a good idea to have that debugger on, because it picks up stupid errors like that for you straight away. So let's try that again. No errors this time. Let's see if it actually works now. Oh, there you go. And they're dropping down the screen. You can see the little M. Okay, but obviously they're not splitting into multiple things yet, because I'm not detecting whether the paddles hit them. And I'm not actually saying what happens. So let's go back to our game code. So you can see it. We need to now do the collision detection between the pickup and the paddle. And all the collision detection for the paddle is handled by the function called paddle collisions, which currently is checking for balls. But we now need to get it to check as well for pickups. So we're going to loop through every single one of the items in the pickups. So in paddle collisions, after we've done all the ball collision checks, let's set up another for loop, and we're going to say for var I equals 0. So this is similar to that one that we had for processing all the pickups. So we can say I is less than pickups dot length I plus plus, and that'll give me a loop where I will let us access each element of the pickups array. Now, we only want to process the pickup if the paddle touches it, but because we've got some dead pickups, we need to make sure we ignore dead pickups. So we're going to do a compound if. So we're going to say if not pickups I dot dead. So as long as this one isn't dead, and pickups I touching. You see that we've already got this function. A ball can check to see if it's touching, a sprite can check to see if it's touching something. So we can say, right, well, is the pickup touching the paddle? Okay, so you can see that it's pretty much the same sort of logic, but we just had to put this dead check. Okay, so if it's touching, what we're going to do is we're going to kill the pickup. So we're going to say pickups I dot kill. Okay. So all we've done is we've added to the paddle collision checking code detecting to see if we've hit the pickup. So if we save that and go back to our browser and refresh, so this time what you should see is that when the M's come down the screen, unless I've made a mistake again, that the paddle, oh, it didn't work. It did not work. Why did that not work? Interesting. Huh. I'll have to let's just watch it again. Oh, no, 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 I'm being silly. I don't think that works in demo mode. It works in game mode. So let's just do it in game mode. So I'm having to control it. There you go. They're getting picked up. Yeah, the paddle collisions are slightly different in demo mode. The other thing I've done, remember we set up a few variables at the top of game code that allowed the ball to just bounce. So I've set kill ball to false, which makes it a little bit easier when I'm testing things. Okay, so we're detecting that we've hit the pickups. So back in paddle collisions, but now we want to do something. We want to get the pickup to do its job, but I don't know hit this stage what that job is. So what we're going to do is we're going to add to the multi pickup. We're going to add a action, and this is we're gonna put the code here first. We're going to say pickups I dot pickups I dot and we're going to call it pickup action. So we're going to have a routine. Right, now a few of the actions will involve the paddle, but because these have got to be general, I'm going to just add the things that I'm going to need direct access to. So I'm going to put paddle. Okay. So I need to go back to my multi-pickup and create this function. So back in multi-pickup, after the constructor, I'm going to create pickup action. It's going to accept a paddle. Not that I'm going to use it for this, but we will on future ones. The code that we had before was to spawn a ball. So we want a ball to split. So we can use spawn ball, but it needs a ball. And at this stage, we don't know what balls are active because we've just hit the pickup with the paddle. So it's got nothing to do with the ball. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to take the first ball from the active ball list. So we can say active ball 0. And I'm going to just use that to spawn. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I've saved that. I'm going to make sure I've got game code saved. So we're picking the paddle up, we're killing it because obviously we don't want to hit it more than once. And then we're saying, right, well, whatever you're doing, you just get on and do it. Now it's important that this code doesn't know about that. That is to do with the multi-pickup. All the pickups are going to operate differently, and you can't know ahead of time what they're going to want to do. So the game code just says, well, whatever you're doing, just get on and do your action. Okay, so let's see. We've got all that saved. Let's just refresh this. Remember, I've got to go and play the game. So I'll press 1. Otherwise, I haven't got the collision detection between the things. So when I hit one of these M's, should get split. There you go. Now, I'm just splitting it into two, and you'll see I'm generating lots of M's, remember, because we had a 95% chance. It'll help me clear the level quite quick, and they're all not going off the screen. So there's nothing to stop me going and in multi-pickup saying, well, actually, I want to spawn a couple of balls. So let's spawn a couple each time. So you could do different. You could do like a really super multi-ball pickup where you generate 10 if you wanted to. Let's go back. So this, every time I pick one up this time, it's going to spawn two more balls. So the first, I'll try and just catch one. I'll count that outside one. So it's split into three, because it's not split into three, it's just generate two more balls. So that will rapidly fill up. Okay, I'll stop that video there, and we'll do the next part, which will. Oh no, I won't. I'll keep going. I'll keep going. Let's add some different pickups now. Right. So I'm gonna now add another class, and I'm gonna call this one shrink. No, I'll do an extend first. So let's call this extend pickup. So I'm going to make a pickup that when you get it, it makes your bat bigger. So it's going to be called extend pickup.js. Now it's essentially going to be identical to multi-pickup apart from the action and some of these things. So I'm actually just going to copy and paste all the code from multi-pickup and put it in extend pick, but I'm going to make sure I change that to extend pickup. So the class name I've changed, otherwise you're going to get an error. I'm going to use a different letter. I'm going to use E. I'm going to use purple background. And I'm going to go for white text on this because that'll show up well on the purple. Right, now, I'm not going to spawn balls when I hit this, but what I am going to do is I'm going to change the size of the paddle. Now, I've been given the paddle, so all I've got to do is say paddle, and then there is a sprite function called scale to, which is takes a vector value, which means I can stretch it in two directions. So I want this to be 200%, so double the width. I don't want to make it any thicker. So I'm going to say scale to new vector to 2,1. So that's 200% horizontally, 100% vertically, so it won't change vertically. And now that we've got this set up, that is it. That's how I do an extension. That's how I add a new pickup. All I've had to write is 2 lines of code. But let's just save that. In game code, we fixed it. So if we look at, go back to choose pickup, we fix it so it always does a multi pickup. So let's change that so that it randomly chooses a pickup, because that'll be a little bit more useful. So we've got a random number to decide whether we do a pickup. Let's now generate another random number. We'll call it choice. I'm going to call it drop this. And we're going to use the random number generator. So the random number generator generates a number between 0 and 1, a floating point number, a fraction. But I want a number that's a whole number. So I'm going to say math.trunc, which means truncate, which means chop off any fractional part of a number. So I'm going to give it a random number, but I'm going to multiply it by how many different pickups I've got. So I've got 2 pickups at the minute, so I'm going to say multiply by 2. So I'm going to say generate a number between 0 and 1, times it by 2, and then chop the fraction off. I'm then going to use that and use the number that's generated. So from this, I'll either get a number of 0 or 1. So I'm going to use a switch statement, and I'm going to say drop this. So it's going to look at that. And with the switch statement, you put braces, and then you have case. So you say case 0, And then for case 0, that's where I'm going to do my multi-pickup. So if it randomly picks a naught, it's going to do a multi-pickup. And then I have to put this word break. And then I just put my, and I'm going to indent that, those two statements as well. Then I'm going to do case 1. And case 1 is going to be doing my extend pickup. And I could have done this in an even cleverer way, but I'm not going to mess about with that. So I'm just going to give it the center of the brick in the screen that we're in, and it's going to generate that. Okay, so it's going to have a pick as to which one of these it does. So make sure we've got extended pickup saved, lots of code there, and then this chosen pickup. So let's save that, refresh the thing, let's play the game. So we should get two different brick pickups dropping down. So we've got the M. Oh, we got an error. Extend pickup is not defined. I have made a cardinal sin, and I didn't load the JavaScript file for extend pickup. So I'm just going to copy and paste that multi pickup and tell it to load the other one. So let's reset, refresh that and do it. So, you know, the debugger being on helps. Right, make sure we start the game, otherwise it's not going to work. So the M's have there you go, there's the E. So we've got multiple balls flying around, but let's pick up an E, and you see it extends in paddle. Got lots of them. He doesn't keep doing it 200%. He doesn't like grow and grow and grow and grow. You could do that, but you wouldn't want to. Okay, so that is an extend. Let's make an anti-pickup. Let's make a pickup that shrinks your bat, makes it harder for you to hit the ball. So again, I'm just going to add a new file, a new sprite, and I'm going to call this shrink pickup.js. Right, I'm going to take the stuff from extend pickup, and I'm going to select all of it using Control A, copy it using Control C, and I'm going to paste it all into shrink pickup, and I'm just going to change the class name to shrink pickup. And instead of, and it's going to be similar, so I'm going to have an S. What should we go for color wise? Let's go for yellow background because that'll stand out then. I don't know what color text is going to look good on that. Let's have black text. That'll really be good contrast to the yellow. And instead of scaling it by 200%, we're going to scale it to 50%, so 0.5. So I'm going to save that. I've got to make sure that I add the script to be loaded. So let's copy and paste extend pickup and change that to shrink. So we make sure we load that. Save that, and then the other thing we've got to do is add the new case in. So I'm going to change it to multiply by 3, and I'm going to add a case in, which is going to do new shrink pickup brick dot center. I mean, I could have copied and pasted that and changed the name of the class I was constructing. Make sure I put break. Okay, so let's save that, refresh our browser. Oh, got to play the game, otherwise it won't work. Right, so I'm playing the game. I'm in control. Oh, there's the S's. Let's get one. Oh, let's get an E. Oh no. So you see, this is how you add them. Now, there's one more thing I'm going to show you. So that's it. That's basically everything you need to do. But it's all a bit naff. I want to do some animation on that letter to make it look like it's rotating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some scrolling containers. So in our CSS, just above where I've done the pickup one, I'm going to create another class, and I'm going to call it pickup label. It's not going to have much in it. It's just going to have position relative in it. Okay. Oh, I wish it wouldn't do that. Position relative. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create inside the pickup class. So let's go to pickup class. Instead of just setting the text in there, we're going to put another container inside the pickup container, and we're going to move it up and down. Okay. And it sounds more complicated than it actually is. But let's just go with this. So instead of doing pick inner text, we're just going to comment that line out. So we're in pickup here, and then we're just going to create, after we've done the supercode, we're going to create a new container. So we're going to say this dot label, and we want it to be accessible. So we've put this dot in front of it. So we're going to say document, because we're going to manipulate it. So we're going to say create element again, create another div. So this is just like the container we made for the actual pickup sprite. We're going to give it its class name. So we say label.class name equals, and it was, and make sure you spell it correctly. What was it? I'm going to copy that. Pickup label. Go back to pickup. Okay. Then I'm going to put the letter inside this. I'm going to say label.inner text equals letter. And then I'm going to add it to the pickup sprite container. So I'm going to say pick.append child this.label. So that what that does is it makes it sit inside. So we've got a whole new HTML element, a div element, with some stuff that sits inside another element. To control where it's displayed on screen, we're going to have an offset value. So I'm going to say this.offy equals 0. And I'm going to use some simple maths in the update to alter where we officially sit the label relative to the container. Okay, so what we're going to do is we just want it to look like it's rotating. So we're just going to increase the offset position. So we're going to say, so in update, we're going to say this.offy plus plus. So that just adds one. If it's gone, remember the container is only 20 pixels high. So if it's gone bigger than that, it'll be off the bottom of the container. So we can say if this.offy is greater than 20, then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, we're going to reset it, but not to 0. We're going to reset it to minus 20. And what that does is it puts it above the container on screen. Okay. Now, in order to set that, so these are just some variables. In order to set that, we need to change the CSS of the label. So we're going to say this.label dot style, that's how you get to the CSS, dot top, which is where it's drawn, equals this dot offy, and then we have to say what the format is. So this is pixels. Okay, and that should be it. Okay, so let's just go back, make sure we check our CSS. So we got our CSS. Okay, and let we got our CSS, we got our relative. All we've done is edited pickup. It hasn't affected how multi-pickup works or extended pickup or shrink pickup works. This is another benefit of using objects and object orientation. I can change how things work without affecting how things use them. Okay, so let's just see if that works anyway. So I've saved everything. Go back, refresh that. Oh, got to play the game. So press 1 to start. Let's have a look what happens when they come down. Now it's doing the scrolling, but we can actually see them, which looks a bit awful. So we can fix that with a bit of CSS. So if we go back to our CSS, now the pickup, what we want to do is if anything anything within its container overflows by default, the browsers draw them. So what we need to do is to say, well, actually, when you get an overflow, hide it. So anything that's outside the bounds of this 30 by 20 pixel block on screen, don't show it. That should be it. I should be able to just save that. So I've made sure I saved it and refresh. Play the game. Let's watch it. So this time you get a nice cool effect. So it looks like even though they're not, it looks like they're rotating as they come down the screen. You can do more convincing effects. Okay, well, a little bit of a bug there. All the balls are stuck. Right, one other thing. You'll notice that the bat's now going off the screen. Now this is to do with that alignment problem. So if we go back to, do you remember when we had the alignment for the brick problem? We had to do this transform origin 0, 0. So we're going to do the same for the paddle. So let's just say in paddle in the CSS transform origin, and we're just going to say 0%, 0%. Just like you could have copied and pasted that. So let's just save that and try it again. Start the game. Now I need the bat to change. Right, so the extended bat was the one that really showed me that. Now you can see that's it. It sits on the screen properly. Okay, and that's it. That's how you add your pickups.